Fine, one story, but details regarding places and identities are removed because I don't want shit getting back to me. I mean, client confidentiality was beyond insane. In some cases, we'd get told it was fine to start a shootout with the cops if it was the only way to get away. A few times we got told to kill the woman we'd been sent to retrieve and make sure the body couldn't be identified if it looked like we couldn't escape with them. For these men, it wasn't about getting their wife or daughter back. It was about saving face or retrieving an asset. They didn't want to suffer the humiliation of being publicly known their wife was going off to some modern-day Sodom to fuck anything with a pulse, or sometimes without. And they often had plans regarding their daughter's future marriage, and they didn't want their spoiled little princess to ruin. So, the business was horrible right off the bat. So, a story. What do you want? The worst wife story or the worst daughter story? Or do you want a wife/daughter story? Daughter story it is. Been working for the firm for 2 years now. 2 years into my 3 years doing this shit. Think I've seen it all by this point, and to be fair, I had seen a lot of it. Me and 3 other guys are assigned to a job to retrieve a man's daughter. But it's not a simple grab and return. We have to grab her, deliver her to a man in the USA, then to a doctor in Germany, and finally to her wedding in England. All of this on a very strict timetable as the man in the USA and Germany needed time to do their things. We have 2 months in total. Most of that will be taken up by the man in the USA, according to the boss. We're going to be paid quite well for this, fortunately. But we have literally got a week to find her and get her to the USA. On the plus side, we know where she currently is, a very expensive and very, very disgusting resort in the Caribbean. The client has given us a private jet with pilot and flirty hostess to use. We fly out, enjoying the facilities. The new guy avails himself to the flirty hostess. The rest of us have difficulty with that sort of thing after so long doing this shit. Once we're on the ground, we send the new guy to handle luggage, hotel check-in, and all that shit. Rest of us gotta hit the pavement, and hit fucking hard. Difference between the experience and the new guy is immediately apparent. Gloves and sunglasses on before we even step off the plane. Alcohol gel at the ready, fully dressed to protect against air and fluids. He is happy in shorts and a t-shirt. Pavement hit. Spend the first day hitting the usual suspects in terms of clubs and locations for people and what we expect to be her wealth bracket and age. We come away empty-handed and mostly unmolested. One of the older guys did not get away fast enough at a bestiality club. Huge stain on his trouser leg. Worst I got was a tranny trying to grab my balls, but I long ago learned to wear a codpiece under my trousers. We get back to the hotel and immediately realize something is wrong when the hotel receptionist says the new guy never checked in. Get hotel room keys and begin immediately searching for fucking new guy. Fire up the tracking app on our phones. All of us are fitted with GPS tracking devices on a wristband for the duration of the job, mostly for shit like this. No sign of it, which means he's probably somewhere it can't get a signal. Ask around. Few people saw him stop off at the bar. Barman tells us he was talking to some ladyboys, but didn't seem to realize what they were. They walked off together, no idea where. Left behind the luggage. Barman held onto it. Tip the barman $100 and ask him to keep an eye out for our friend and call her him/them if he sees him or the ladyboys. Get to our rooms and unpack the surveillance gear and other shit. Start going over the banking records and so on from the client. Check to see what her latest banking activity was. Unfortunately for us, her pattern remains consistent. She goes to a bank, takes a few thousand in cash every couple hours, rarely going to the same bank. Figures she might be deliberately avoiding going to the same banks and start plotting out each bank in the resort. See if we can get some observation on them going. Lots of banks. Frustration sets in quickly, and we go back to the usual pattern of plotting out known clubs and so on that are in her price range. Check in with the guys at home to see if they've gotten any info on her taste to help out on that front. Turns out the girl is like mega racist and thinks blacks are animals, but is really into bestiality too. Settle down for the night, having sprayed the majority of the room with disinfectant we brought with us. Around 2 in the morning, my phone goes off. Grab it and answer it, thinking the boss is going to be bitching we ain't found her yet. It's the fucking new guy. Guys, I just saw her at his bank. I'm in a taxi following her now. Instantly awake. Kick everyone else awake. Scream murder at the new guy because he fucking vanished. Run out of the hotel and pile into the rental car, setting off breakneck speed following the new guy's directions. We wind up outside a really dingy-looking BDSM/bestiality club. The sort of place where they like to tie up people and have dogs fuck them, or tie up dogs and have people fuck them. This place is also way below her price range, which is surprising. Rich kids rarely slum it up when they pull this shit. New guy's outside accompanied by 2 ladyboys. He looks pretty damn excited. As we get closer, we notice the bloodshot, unfocused eyes, twitchiness, and general signs of drug use. Quickly dismiss the ladyboys, who initially are hesitant to leave their payday. They get the message after a short fistfight. Make sure the new guy is okay and briefly discuss among ourselves if this is some kind of trap set up by the ladyboys or whoever they work for. Decide that since we have no other leads, fuck it, we're checking this out. We pull out surgical masks and protective glasses and promptly put them on. Deep breath. Descend the stairs into the pit with the new guy in tow, still high on fuck knows what. Bottom of the stairs, there's a bouncer who looked a bit confused at 3 guys in suits wearing masks and goggles, accompanied by a tweaked-out guy in shorts covered in lipstick. Everyone just sort of stands there looking at each other for a moment, until the bouncer notices the blood on one of the older guy's gloves from the ladyboys. Idiot hadn't cleaned it off. Bouncer decides it's not worth the trouble and opens the door. As he does so, we realize the soundproofing here was amazing. It was like being hit in the face by a million cocks made of sound. Stepped in and lamented the place was carpeted. The carpet stuck to our shoes. It was like walking on a floor covered in half-set glue. Poor new guy had at some point lost his shoes, so one of us stayed outside with him in the car. As expected, the place looked cheap, although much of the BDSM gear was no doubt still pricey stuff. The entire club was built around a central stage with tables all over the place. Every table had a black guy, black woman, or dog either on it, above it, or chained to it, with the guests obviously availing themselves of them at any point they desired. The bar was along one wall and kept out of the way of action for the most part, although it had a mini stage above it, with some poor negress getting slammed by a pair of these huge dogs. The whole place was fucking revolting. The stage was the worst of it. It was an open stage with an orgy going on all the fucking time, with the guests being encouraged to join in. A roiling mass of bodies, leather, metal, and fur. Go to the bar and wave the bitch's photo in the barman's face. She's here. Fuck yes, and good luck. Turns out she's been giving these guys thousands every day to have the club to herself and any hangers-on she picks up at other clubs. Unfortunately, she's currently on stage. Me and the other guy look at the mess, and before I know what's happening, he says, "Not it." I promptly pick up a random drink off the bar and pour it on him, informing him this is a 4-man job and we have 2. Because one has to babysit the one who is currently high on fuck knows what, and last we saw him remarking about how he can't feel his shoes. Partner in crime is now wet and sticky. Ask what was in the cocktail I poured on him. Barman answers dog semen. Partner in crime gags and just sort of sits there trembling before I buy a bottle of vodka and pour it all over him. He feels better, but he wants to get this over with and take a shower. Agree with the sentiment and head for the stage. This is where it gets fun. We initially try to identify where in the pile she is. It's not pretty. Around 50 people on stage fucking each other or being fucked by dogs. We see a man fucking a dog while another man fucks him in the ass. We see what is probably a dead dog on the floor from the stage, bleeding from its ass, probably killed by some Negro's cock. Witness some poor girl being fucked by a group of men who are trying to see how many dicks they can get in her holes at once. All her holes. Target located. Bitch is on her back, sliding around in the gooey mess that covers the stage as a fucking huge dog pounds her cunt and a black guy stuffs his cock down her throat. Considering that she's throwing up as he does so, we can assume it is not only large, but she has a gag reflex. Step onto the stage and almost fall over due to the accumulated fluids and oozes. Seems they're pretty liberal with the lube here. Partner in crime does fall over and I have to pick him up. Pushed away a bunch of degenerates who are trying to get our clothes off. Pull out batons and start shouting at them to back off. Can't hear us due to music. Start clubbing, in the literal sense. Most don't even seem to notice what is going on. The degenerates begin to close in on us, one of them holding up a large dog with its erect cock waggling at us. Third experienced guy is in the rental car. New guy is nowhere in sight. Ask where the fuck he went, and he said the guy flipped out so he had to, stuff him in the boot. Clearly coming down off whatever the ladyboys gave him. can hear a faint muttering from the boot. Something about ants behind his eyes. Ask if he thought to tie the new guy up. Fortunately, he did. Throw target in back seat and tie her up. Unfortunately, have to deal with more oozing semen. This time slowly oozing down my leg due to her position next to me. Quickly drive to alley near hotel. Grab the kit from the boot. New guy asks if we're the nice young men who have come to take him to see his grandchildren. Briefly worry about him before shutting the boot. Dose the target with something to knock her out and stuff her in a suitcase. Go to hotel and take her up to room in said suitcase. Make sure to tip management appropriately to keep any noise complaints in-house. Put up signs outside our room claiming a scene for a film is currently being shot here. Remove target from suitcase. Draw straws to see who has to clean her. Remember we left the new guy in the boot and go get him. He's fine, just out of it. Convinced he's in a retirement home. Fuck knows what he's on. Those of us who were fortunate enough to not have to clean the new guy in Target take showers in the lottery-chosen order and don fresh clothes. While new guy and Target are cleaning the shower, we prepare travel arrangements. Phone pilot and tell him to hurry the fuck up. Hear constant whining from the bathroom about, it just never fucking ends. How can one cunt hold so much? After 3 hours, the drugs start to wear off, but the bitch is pronounced clean. Or at least clean enough. Target wakes up and begins screaming. Quickly gagged and drugged again, stuffed back into suitcase. New guy is sobered up some and is now at least manageable. Start to get some answers as to what happened. Seems he asked the ladyboys about our target. They told him they'd fucked her a few nights ago. He went along with them, hoping to get her before we did and prove how awesome he was. Instead, wound up drugged, robbed, and spending many hours fucking those ladyboys. Well, mostly being fucked by those ladyboys. He'd been taken to the bank by them to get some money from his account when he noticed the target was there, in his drug-addled state, and managed to hold it together long enough to lead us to her. Guy starts shaking like some kind of shell shock victim. We all know. We've all been there. Leave him to deal with it. Give him some alcohol gel. Drag target in suitcase and new guy down to the rental car, pack up all our gear, and cover the whole hotel room in bleach before we go. Drive to the airport quickly as possible. Dump rental car and set it on fire in a ditch next to the airport. Plane is ready to go. Pile aboard and get the fuck out. All through the flight, we kept the target tied up and gagged in one of the chairs, now wearing a jumpsuit we bought for her. Flight attendant flirts with the new guy. New guy looks miserable all the way through the flight. Barely responsive. Poor attendant must think she's ugly. Fly to the USA. Met by a motorcade at the airport. Target and ourselves are bundled into a vehicle for a 6-hour drive to bumfuck Nowheresville. Literally a tiny town with a population of a few hundred. Stereotypical old town where everyone knows everyone. Stop outside this plain and normal-looking house. Neighbors must be suspicious about there being 5 big black cars parked outside his house. Drag girl to the front door with briefcase given to us by one of our coworkers. Private security then private investigator for a very brief time. My ability to deal with weird shit got me thrown into this by my employer. Nice friendly-looking old man opens the door, asks us what we want. Tell him who we're working for and present the girl who's trying her best to scream through the gag. Also give him the suitcase, which he opens and checks. Obviously full of fucking money. He thanks us and shouts something into the house in Russian. This gigantic Russian babushka comes out of the back of the house and grabs the girl by the arm, dragging her into the house, unleashing a horrific tirade of verbal abuse at her all the while. Old man tells us to wait for his call. Motorcade fucks off after this, with us being left with a single car in our expense account, with instructions to wait in the town. Check into local motel. It's shit, but feels sterile after that horrific place. Eat real food. Feel comfortable enough to not wear gloves for the first time in far too long. New guy starts to recover from his ordeal a bit. The old town Americana thing seems to be doing him wonders. Generally have a wonderful month's vacation in this old school American town. All good things come to an end. Holiday in small town America comes to an abrupt end with a phone call from the old man telling us he's done and she's ready to be picked up. We sigh and pack up our stuff and get all the gear ready. The drugs, gags, bags, and so on. We arrive at his place and he invites us in. We cautiously accept. Sat there confused in a very nice living room, we see something simply shocking. The target wearing a dress with her all done up and looking, well, normal for a rich bitch. And she's serving us tea, talking like someone who isn't a spoilt brat, all proper-like. The transformation is simply shocking. And then we all finally cotton on to what this guy was. We brought her to be fucking brainwashed. Nobody has a problem with this. After a rather enjoyable 20-minute tea break with elderly Russian couple, and a brief cock-up with a new guy not understanding why there's jam but no toast, we depart with now much more pleasant target in tow. Bundle her into the car, and she's positively pleasant during the entire ride. A bit of small talk, concern for our well-being in this hot weather, and so on. Older partner in crime describes her presence as being like morphine. Just makes everything feel fine. Drive to the airport, climb aboard private jet on our merry way to Germania. New guy recovered in leaps and bounds. Ends up shagging attendant again. Target catches them as they had not locked the door to the toilet and is positively shocked by their scandalous behavior. Spends rest of trip unable to even look at them. Land in Germany, met by a car. Rather serious affair. Blacked out windows and all. Quickly, everyone is stuffed inside. Driven to a very exclusive and expensive private clinic. She already has an appointment under a fake name. Has to spend the whole time there with a bag over her head and us on hand to make sure doctors don't sneak a peek. Judging by the amount of time spent fiddling with her cunt, it's pretty obvious it's a hymen restoration. Brief hospital trip over. Everyone back to the airport. All the way, she remains positively pleasant to be around. Onwards to jolly old Blighty. Back home at last. When we arrive, her father is there with a fuck ton of goons to meet us. Talk to her for a moment in a very Disney-esque reunion. Obviously the only pleasant interaction they've ever had. Father thanks us for our discretion, speed, and so on. Slips up a sizable bonus in cash. We all fuck off back to the office to be praised by the boss for a job well done. Everything is good. Life is good. Get another month paid vacation since this one brought in a small fortune. New guy seems fine for the first week, but later on turns up in police custody for drugs. Winds up having to go through therapy and rehab. Fortunately, employer covers up access to the best available treatment on that front, so no NHS psychiatrist care. Which is shit these days. New guy makes a full recovery after a year, learns not to trust strange ladyboys. The end. And now, after telling that story, I feel dirty. I need a shower.